You know, when you think about it, our planet is this amazing blue dot in the blackness of space, and it's the only place we know of that's teeming with life. So, what's its secret? What's the fundamental recipe that makes it all work? So, what is Earth's recipe for life? Well, it's not just one single ingredient. It's actually a delicate, constant interaction between a few key components. And today, we're going to break down that recipe. The recipe has four main ingredients, or what we call Earth's major domains. First, you've got the lithosphere. That's all the solid ground. Then the hydrosphere, all the water. The atmosphere is the air we breathe. And finally, the biosphere, that's the magic zone where the other three meet to create life itself. So let's start our tour with the very ground beneath our feet, the lithosphere. This is the solid part of the Earth, the rock and the soil that makes up our continents. It is literally the stage where everything else happens. Now, this foundation isn't just one giant piece. It's broken up into 7 huge landmasses: Asia, Africa, North and South America, Europe, Australia, and Antarctica. These are the continents, and where they're located affects everything from ocean currents to weather patterns. They're constantly interacting with all the other domains. Let's start with the absolute biggest of them all, Asia. To put its size into perspective, it covers about a third of all the land on the entire planet. It's a continent of extremes, and that includes the highest of highs. Home to the Himalayas, Asia boasts the world's highest peak, Mount Everest. It stands at an incredible 8,848 meters above sea level. I mean, that's nearly 9 kilometers straight up into the sky. So high, it actually changes how the atmosphere flows around it. Then you've got the Americas, North and South, 2 massive continents. And what's wild is that they're connected by this remarkably thin little ribbon of land called the Isthmus of Panama. It acts like a bridge between 2 hemispheres and a wall between 2 great oceans. And of course, the other continents have their own unique stories to tell. Africa's location gives it an incredible diversity of climates. Australia is basically a giant island continent all on its own. And Antarctica? It's this vast frozen wilderness that's dedicated entirely to science. Okay, let's move from the solid ground and dive in, literally, to the lifeblood of our world, the hydrosphere. This is all the water on Earth, and it's the whole reason we're called the blue planet. Just look at that number. Over 71% of our planet's surface is covered in water. It's a true water world. But, and this is a really big but, that number can be a little misleading. Because, as you can see here, a staggering 97.5% of that water is salt water in the oceans. Only a tiny 2.5% is fresh water. And most of that is locked away in glaciers or deep underground. It really makes you think about how precious that fresh water actually is. Now, the 5 major oceans are all connected, really forming one big global sea. But take the Atlantic, for instance. It's not just a huge body of water. Its unique S shape and all those nooks and crannies along its coastline create these perfect natural harbors, which is why it's the busiest ocean for trade and travel. And remember how the lithosphere had its highest high with Mount Everest? Well, the hydrosphere has its lowest low. The Mariana Trench in the Pacific Ocean plunges down over 11,000 meters. To put that in perspective, you could stink Mount Everest in there and still have more than 2 kilometers of water above it. Just incredible. Okay, we've covered land and water. Now let's look up to the invisible shield of air above us, the atmosphere. And then to the vibrant zone where everything comes together, the biosphere. So the atmosphere is this protective blanket of gases that's wrapped around the Earth, and it's structured in 5 different layers. It starts with the troposphere, right down here where we live and where all our weather happens, and it stretches all the way out to the exosphere, which is pretty much the final frontier before you hit deep space. And as you go up through these layers, the air gets thinner and thinner. The pressure and the density drop way down. And this isn't just a science fact, it has real-world consequences. It's the whole reason why climbers tackling mountains like Everest have to carry their own oxygen just to survive up there. And that brings us to the most vital concept of all, the biosphere. It's that special, narrow zone where land, water, and air all meet and interact. It's not some separate place, it's the dynamic intersection of the other three domains. From the deepest ocean trenches to the highest mountain peaks, this is the domain of life itself. Which brings us to the most important takeaway. These domains aren't as neighbors living side by side. They are a deeply, deeply interconnected system. What happens in one directly, and I mean directly, affects all the others. Here's a classic example. When you cut down a forest, you're changing the lithosphere and the biosphere. But then, without the tree roots to hold the soil in place, a heavy rainstorm from the atmosphere can wash all that soil into the rivers and oceans, the hydrosphere. See? It's a perfect chain reaction. And we see this same chain reaction playing out on a global scale. Human activities that happen on the land, in the lithosphere, release huge amounts of CO2 into the atmosphere. This traps heat, which raises global temperatures, and that in turn messes with ocean currents in the hydrosphere and affects all life in the biosphere. It's all connected. So ultimately, it all comes down to one thing: balance. This delicate, intricate dance between land, water, and air is what allows the biosphere, life as we know it, to exist in the first place. Protecting that balance isn't just a nice idea, it's absolutely essential for our own survival. The very systems that make our planet so unique are the ones we now have the power to disrupt. This extraordinary balance is what created us. So the real question we have to ask ourselves is, will we be the ones to protect it?